You're on Hawaii. I'm curious what took
Yeah,
you there.
we are. Yeah, we'll talk about it. We are live. So let me double check it since we've had some problems here.
Yes, people
Uh,
are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah,
yeah. Let me go to it. Make sure it's good. Yeah. See, it's still not showing.
we
I
have
don't know
people in.
what's. I
I
don't know
see
what's
people.
going on here. You
It's
see people
okay.
in?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even
And
see it. I don't see
on
it
the
on my page.
sidebar, I see. No, I don't see anything on the page. That's not what I'm
Yeah,
seeing.
something's not right, man.
So maybe there's no announcement or something.
No, no, no. There's something wrong on their end. We've got it's showing three people in. Okay, hang on.
Mhm.
For some reason,
Yeah,
it must be my stream here
yeah,
because there's people,
yeah. There are.
but I don't see it on my page.
No.
Nope.
Too. I
Mm-mm.
don't. I don't even have any post. Did you tag me anywhere in? I don't have anything. You know, the original one that you scheduled that disappeared
Yeah.
because it had a timeout.
What the hell's going on here?
You know, people are coming. You see.
There's 20 people in the house, but I
So
can't see it on my. Let's just go with it. If anybody out there would be kind enough to share this to the Soulogy group, I would appreciate it. We got 33 people in the house. Okay, a lot of people here. I know they're all here to see my good-looking brother.
but you know,
Tim,
it's just
Tim,
a good thing. We are 2.5 hours away from Mercury going retrograde, so Mercury is already pulling us into miscommunication and confusion. It's doing its job. You know.
is that what's happening? Is
That's
that what's
I know.
happening? So,
I'm
so
not
we're
blaming it on Mercury, but you know, if
no,
you
no,
gotta
no. I'm
find a,
just wondering. Yeah, I've hit the point now where I'm not allowing anything to have any authority over me.
I
The-
get that. We're on the same page again. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I labeled this one. Okay, let me just say first because I see a couple new names. I'm Todd Medina. This is Soul Speaks 5D. This is part of the Soulgy Network, which we're expanding rapidly. I just got out of a business meeting in regard to that, so we're going to have some things occurring Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday uh, that are going to be expanding our availability as we move into a handheld app accessible application and our own website, independent of Facebook, YouTube, and all that. We're also going to have a really powerful show on Thursday with Lisa Transcendence Brown. I'm going to go over to her house. We're going to sit on the couch and we're going to have a conversation. And I think it'll be very unique. A lot of people know her, and then Katie Indicrow is going to be coming on every day. We're coordinating all that and a few other people. So, thank you, Timothy, for coming back. I'm sorry about all the technical difficulties. It wasn't my fault. It's Mercury retrograde. So I just saw Sue Baxter Fitz, and thank you, Sue, for always
Yes.
supporting us and contributions, love and support, and so many other people. She sent me a note, and she said Romeo Barron, who I love, we all love Romeo, his light
Yes.
language and his work that he does for humanity, has been talking about the AI aspect of the moon, uh, or lack thereof. What is the moon? And so she said, what would be a great idea is to talk to Romeo about his opinions on the moon and its AI aspect or the possibility or reality of it, and someone like Timothy Robert, you know. So I was like, yeah, that's cool because I think we need to talk about all this stuff. It doesn't
Me
mean
too.
that the moon's artificial or if the moon's artificial or not artificial or whether the moon is artificial or not. Does it have power over you? Is
Yeah.
it not something that is like everything else external inside of us, the universe inside of us, and
Pretty.
so on? So,
Wow.
I thought we would talk about that a little bit, and Men in Black, or whatever you want to talk about.
Yes. Yes. You had your ideas already, like the Men in Black. I thought, well, okay, why not? No, but this is awesome. You know, I had these thoughts in my mind. There are. A few days ago, I posted something about a Christmas song. You know, like all I want for Christmas is. And I got a chat message right away from a friend said, you should not want something. And today's another friend posted as a comment the same, thou shall not want. And I feel right away like, who's there to tell me that I should not want? That's a kind of a dogma that's not affecting me. That's not working.
Yeah.
And that's aligned with you. And the other alignment is, who are we to say what's true? There is a truth and there's another truth. And there is so much distraction that you could easily go completely to the left and say everything is light, completely to the right, everything is conspiracy. Where is the truth? I'm there. It's like if there is something on the moon, that seems so, but does it mean that the whole moon is artificial? That's not right away my conclusion.
Yeah.
And if you say all extraterrestrials are just faked, I don't think so. If they say that all reptilians and Dracos are created in imagination and mind control, I don't know. If you go back and strip everything away, you say, what if this is not true? What if that's not true? What if that's not true? Then still you come to the point that you say 9/11 wasn't just an isolated thing. It happened, and we've got so much proof that it happened. And the most remarkable thing is that the world is not even talking about it, They just like as if they accept that it happened. And if there is something there, and if that's part of kind of an agenda, then we are already starting with the basement that apparently things are going on, and things that are going on, I don't have to focus on it. I try to focus on love, but it's a good thing that it also creates another activity, which is people who get together and say, if we just come from love, what can we do? Can we raise a vibration, whatever happens? And this is a bit the beauty of this. I mean, let's talk about the moon. Let's talk about Man in Black. I mean,
yeah. And, and the thing is, okay, so I had this conversation with this guy, Fabian, really cool guy, last week. And it wasn't exactly the same subject, but it is all the same subject. Okay. Because anything that's external is basically a reflection of us, right? It's external. It's not as true as we are. We are the only thing. When you remove everything, we're all that we've got left, and then we're all we need. But my point is, I said to him, I said, because he said, we need to do this and we need to do that, and this is how it works. And I'm not arguing with that. What I was telling him is, isn't the fact that we're just discussing, let's just say, discussing the true history of the earth, or discussing what the moon is, or discussing Men in Black, or discussing 9/11, isn't the fact that we're just becoming aware of it and discussing it and acknowledging it, isn't that somehow opening up soul code in us, where we're not under the illusion anymore? We're being forced back into ourselves, because we have all these myriad of things out here, all these stories and all this programming and all these things that we're looking at with our two eyes and whatever, that just make it more complicated.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but if there's a system, I think we cannot deny it. Is it possible to live and pretend that the system isn't there? I think it's pretty hard. Is it possible to be part of the system without being part of the system? I think that's possible. Why do I think so? Because that's basically how I live, I'm in this world. I'm in this system. I'm not taking any medicines, but if somebody really needs to go to a hospital, that person really needs to go to a hospital and goes into the system. And you cannot pretend like hospitals don't exist, and you cannot do as if the hospital treats you differently because you're on a spiritual journey and you're more up there than with your feet on the ground, so you should have a different treatment. No, you're in the hospital, you're part of the system. But that doesn't mean that you change, It's just like, hey, talk to that person and say, there's a reason why you're here, and there's a reason and a way how we get you out. We're not going to get you out if you resist, if you look for trouble, if you want to be stubborn. That's only proving then that they need to treat you. So it's better if you just show your power and walk through the hospital and show them that you don't need them. Then they're going to let you go,
That's a great analogy. The hospital as a representation energetically, because if you think about it and you find yourself in the hospital and you've got some doctors and nurses telling you what's wrong with you and what you need to do, as a energetic representation, the bottom line is to, physician, heal thyself, to thine own self be true. you still make the decisions of what's good for you, and it's all based on the creative, intuitive, spontaneous thought, or whatever impression that comes to you. You know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's over the last few weeks, myself and I've heard others saying it, if it doesn't make sense, do it. In other words, you've got people packing up and going to Hawaii. You got people that are leaving relationships, or leaving jobs, or they're being displaced by universal's providence, by the unseen hand. These things are happening. These are the things that I think we need to talk about.
Yeah.
All these things that have been put before us were basically, I'm just going to put it this way, basically lies, and beneath those lies are the truth. So I'm all for, let's put the lies on the table. We don't have to spend all of our time discussing the intricacies of it, but what we can do is say, hey, the possibility is there that this has occurred. So just knowing that and accepting that, because we have to be open in order to have the eternal growth and expansion, we have to be open to all aspects of possibility, all aspects of dark, and all aspects of light. And the last thing I want to say before I hand it back to you is what you said earlier. I'll just put it a different way. Too much light is just as good or bad as too much dark.
Yeah.
It's an extreme, and we're here to find that middle road, that 0 point, the soul highway, by integrating all aspects of dark and light. We cannot divorce ourselves from anything, including the belief that the light is needs to be 100% light, and forget about the dark. You can't have one without the other. We're the middle road. We are the 99.9%, and that's why I think it's important to discuss these things. I'll go back to you.
Good.
Talk about whatever you want. Let's go.
No, but yeah, we can indeed talk about everything, but this is just you inspiring. I think maybe I'm also inspiring you with the things we are talking about right now. But just if I show, I show a lot of respect for what you're saying. You're gonna be with Lisa this week. We're friends for a lot of years. I mean, even from before she wasn't that busy, so we could easily Skype. That's out of the question. She's just too busy these years. But Lisa, Sandra, Walter, you name those people, they are needed, and they wouldn't be here if there wasn't something on the other side. So that's those things that bring this together. I don't feel personally like, let me be another Sandra or let me be another Lisa. I see those contributions are so fully real from a kind of perspective, and that they have so many people that appreciate. So why would I copy that? So this is basically where I'm in, I know exactly what you're talking about. Lisa is coming from an angle, Sandra is coming from another angle. And I try to bridge science and spirit. Why? Because I can reach people who are looking, who have this kind of gap, I'm in this system and I feel there's something else, but if I go somewhere else, they speak a language I don't understand. So I try to bridge it. And then where I'm coming, it's still coming from somewhere and it's going somewhere. We're going the same way. I'm talking about the shift, but I'm talking about the shift okay, take something, call it 24 or 25 or 26,000 years, and it doesn't matter if you go to Paul de la Violette, who says there are super waves coming from the galactic core every 24,000 years, or you go into those cycles that I'm speaking about. This is the solar system waving around the Milky Way, and it's going above the galactic core, it's going below the galactic core, and every 13,000 years it's going through, and something is really quite dense when it's going through, and when it's out, it's really not that much dense, so it's more vulnerable to galactic cosmic rays. And you can read a lot about it today, and you couldn't read a lot about it 5-6 years ago, but there's a lot about it today. Galactic cosmic rays are intensifying. It doesn't matter, people post anything and they say, I feel tired today, or I feel this today. And if there's some kind of solar activity, they blame it on the sun. If there's no solar activity, which is usually the case right now, then we should blame it on something else. And if it's all over the world, then it is coming from space. And if it's then coming from an angle where Lisa said gateways are open, it's wonderful. If it comes from Sandra, who says we did another thing in our grid work, that's just wonderful. And I'm telling, we're going out of a kind of a gas cloud and we're going into a more open, more vulnerable place. And at the same time, the sun is going into a kind of a sleeping state. So put your head on, because the cosmic rays are only increasing. And we're just telling the same. Energies are affecting us, and they're coming from space, and they are pretty high in frequency, which we call radioactive. And they are that high that they are affecting our bodies, and they are affecting our mental state. They are affecting our heart because the blood pressure is rising. They're altering our DNA. I mean, this is my contribution. I thought to say, let's go and let's talk from whatever way, but we're going the same way. We're saying there's a big change going on, and we're part of it.
Yeah. And so, and I totally agree with what you're saying. And then I would come up with a couple of questions. One is like, is that actually a reflection of what's happening inside of all of us? And do we or do we not dictate what happens outside of us by how much we get in touch with ourselves inside of us in that inner verse? That's kind of one thing. The other thing I was going to say, that's just kind of not a, just a rhetorical question, but what I was going to say is this is where I've kind of come to lately. So anything that you tell me, anything that I read, anything that I come across, anything I've been taught, anything I've developed as a conditional belief is all external. Everything is external. And it's like the old question from way back. Well, if there's a God, who created God? Like, where did that come from? What came before the one? So my thing is this: I'm looking at these things, and if it's a scary belief that I didn't want to accept about some nefarious fourth dimensional archonic energy that controlled us for a long time, or if it's a lawless law or regulation by one of these countries or states or whatever, religion or institutions, it's on me whether or not I'm going to claim my sovereignty over and above whatever that external power presented to me is. So I say what's happening is I'm not so much collapsing timelines, but as I declare my sovereignty over anything external one by one, I am collapsing that timeline. It no longer exists in my life. So I am actually creating the one pure timeline that we all share together, where the truth is the truth, regardless of what we might think or beliefs we hold or the conditioning of our lives. So that's kind of where I'm seeing it. I don't want to, I'm not in the system. And to your point, we have to take steps to get away from that. I today have a driver's license. It's not correct, but it's valid to get me on an airplane or whatever the case is. But I try to stay out of it as much as possible. And I believe that we can actually build a world, including 5D commerce. We can actually build a world that is independent and more true of these external distractions, distortions, and timelines that are collapsing. That's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
Yes. I managed myself for now. It's 2013 was my last assignment, and then I got out of this 3D material. Sky was the limit world. I made money like water, but it didn't come from my heart, and I made a total transition. And now you're counting up. It's almost 5 years that I'm living in a completely different way. But I still show my driver's license if people ask for an ID. But that's all what it counts for me. They want an ID. I show them an ID. That's it. And I'm living in this moment. And right now I'm in North Italy, and I can decide to travel tomorrow, and I go for a few months anywhere. And the only thing that limits me, I have a dog, and I don't take my dog in an airplane because that's too traumatic. And if I leave this continent, then she could even go into quarantine for a long while. So you're not going to see me in Hawaii as long as I have a dog, But for the rest, I'm free. Just you create. And I like this other thing. I had this. If you see a point here, this is, I take something I read, this is not mine, but it could be my thought. I have a point here, this is a breakfast. I have a point here, and I prepare this meeting. And I have a point there, after this meeting, I'm going to take a walk. If you connect those 3 points, then you create a timeline, okay? But if you just look at those points as fragments in a movie, And you know, we can remix everything. You're creative, I'm creative. So why wouldn't we mix frames and make those connections? You know what I'm getting? This where you go into
Yeah,
talking about jumping timelines. It's just like,
yeah,
it's just, I take this breakfast and this live session with Todd and this walk with my dog as my life, but I
yeah,
can choose anything else.
yeah,
I can also choose do not be here in this live, in this call with you. It's just,
yeah,
it's this point that I connected to all the other points. And this is basically how we can look at how you create your reality. And this is how I live for years now. It's just, I live very basically, but the moment I need to manifest something, I manifest it. And I'm not
yeah,
surprised that before I even start doing it, there's already a message in WhatsApp or somewhere else. People connect to me, or they want me to make a blueprint astrology, or they have now something I asked long ago. And exactly this time that I need to manifest, they come. It's just how it goes.
yeah,
That's living in the now, instant manifestation.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, that's a great point because you asked about Hawaii. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so just as using myself as an example. So, you know, regardless of what information's coming out, regardless of, you know, because the universe is communicating to each one of us all the time, 24/7, 365. So if you find yourself and you go to a YouTube and you find yourself looking at a video, there's a reason that's happening. The question is, are you powering what you're presenting before you through fear? Are you powering through what you're experiencing by being present in the moment? And this is what I'm getting at. How did Todd end up in Hawaii? You know, if you look at the 3D, Todd doesn't have the resources to be in Hawaii, such and you know, and so on. But what's
There,
happening and what happened
as
to
you look at
Todd
any place.
and yeah, and what's happening to people, and this I think is absolutely 100% factual. There is no there is no discussion about this. What's happening to people is they're starting to get a stronger and stronger voice of intuition. And so regardless of how crazy it looks to the 3D or to the system or to the matrix or to your family or your friends or society, people are starting to listen. You know, Todd was en route, just, you know, going back to Sedona, you know, going to settle down. And I get a intuitive thought, you're supposed to go to Kauai, Hawaii. And like, I'm what? You
Awesome.
know, how's that going to happen? My point is this is happening to people everywhere, whether it be a change in location, but the intuitive voice is getting louder. It's not being talked about on the mainstream. This is the real ascension. The real ascension is all that stuff out there, all that clutter, 9/11, AI, moon, all that stuff, all those absolutes we want to throw down on the universe and say, okay, well, that's the way it works. So now I can go on with my life. Bullshit.
Mhm.
But the way it works is we are the gods and goddesses. We're receiving this information. It is pure source energy. It is that free, unlimited energy that Tesla talked about. That's what we are. So
Ah,
that's what's happening to people. And like somebody said earlier, maybe that's what we need to talk about. We need to talk about what we're experiencing as these human soul hybrids in transitions becoming supernatural beings in what was a natural world, you know.
galactic beings.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So
Well,
this is how you wake up, and we have people, we have many friends who wake up and look right away what's going wrong in the world, and or they monitor it all the time, and they get alerts when Trump says this, or when the CIA does that, or you know, if it's driving your life, that's your choice. I don't wake up with looking what's going wrong, but I've got a kind of strong affection with what's coming towards us from space. So that's basically how I wake up, and you know that is how I enjoy my life and see
yeah.
what's going on out there. And yeah,
We all, and the thing is, we all have those boogie monsters, you know. We all
yeah,
have those and let me tell you, so I come to Hawaii and I'm like a 10-minute walk, 5-minute, 10-minute walk to a lagoon, to a cliff looking over the ocean, to a beach, and I'm walking in the dark, okay? And ever since I've got here, I'm getting this strong dragon energy. And I'm telling you this for a reason, because it happens to everyone. So I'm walking out there and I start getting all of these. Now this is coming out of my head. Okay. But it's also reflective outside of my body. So I'm thinking reptilian. I'm thinking dark energies, not scary, they're going to come bite me or kill me, but certainly I'm on my toes and I'm going, okay, wait a minute, what's happening here? And so to make a long story short, there was fear, and I acknowledged it. I said, hey, I'm not so sure about this. So what am I going to do? I'm going to open my heart and I'm going to integrate with whatever that energy is, because I am that, I am that. It is not separate from me. It does not have dominion over me. It is me. I am it. And so whether that be the boogeyman of 9/11 or an AI moon or whatever it is, a narcissist that dominated you for most of your life, whatever it is, bottom line is we can claim our sovereignty at any time, any place, anywhere, against anything. Okay. And that's who we are. And that's how we expand this incredible energy, regardless of cycles. It's all about us. We are creating, and you can only create right now. That's it. This ain't about down the road, and it ain't about behind us. It's about actually the ing in life, living, living, giving, receiving, expanding, ascending, awakening. I mean, this is it.
So this is a question. What you talk about, that you felt dragon energy. That doesn't feel really right away negative to me. It really feels rather positive. But there was more some kind of
They were very positive.
Yes, exactly.
When I stepped on the island, it was a very strong maternal, feminine, mother type of a thing. And then I had several dragon episodes. I wrote about them. But what I'm getting at, after a few days of that, I walked down to the lagoon and I went skinny dipping by myself in the middle of nowhere, right? But the thing was, the energies were profound. The wind, the jungle, the water, the waves, the air. And so what was happening was I was immersed in all this freaking colossal, incredible energy that was beyond earth, beyond cosmic, beyond human, beyond soul, beyond galactic. And I'm being honest with you. I was out there going, okay, I'm standing in the water. I'm waist high in this water and I'm feeling like, is something going to come bite me? Right. I mean, that's just a different example of it. But my point is I had to integrate. And when I did that, as I've done each time, then something would come like this, there was like a plant and a tree and like a hill and then like stars. And I was looking at it and all of a sudden they all flattened. They're like they were layers, right? And they all flattened in front of me. And when they did that, the plant became a female dragon right before my eyes. And started to like bow her head up and down in front of me. And then that dragon merged with me, and the energy of that merging went right into my root chakra. And so I guess what I'm saying is we walk through the fear. Okay. We walk through the fear to get to the truth. And, I don't know. You asked the question. And I think that to me is a representation. This thing isn't like a million points of light. It's just two. You either move forward in fear or you move forward in the declaration that I am divinity and I am a sovereign God, And
this is why this is why I verified, because I've got more friends living on Kauai, or have been on Kauai more than a few times, and I know about the exceptional high vibrational level there. It's not everybody can hold that frequency. And of course there are also just people working in projects, construction work, and I'm not suggesting that everybody is having that high frequency, but many of our friends have and are there. And that's why I verified. I thought fear shouldn't be part of it. That's a thing you had to go through. That's basically why I was asking it. That's beautiful.
I spent yesterday with Lisa Brown at her house, Lisa Transcendence Brown.
Yeah.
And And we just talk. We talk. We're planning. We're doing a show next week, and so she said there's three things. There's the galactic, then there is the soul, and then there is the human.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can kind of like narrow it to those three things. And these are the three aspects of yourself that you're dealing with. So back to the thing about fear. No, I absolutely 100%, not just in Kauai, but going to Sedona and all the prior to that, my journey, it was all stepping stones. And when I got to
Mhm.
Kauai, I was told, the island told me right away the first night, you were going to go to Sedona. You were working with the grandfather rocks, the patriarchal energy. You passed initiations. You thought you were going to do what you're going to do there, but you're going to do it here. They sent you to the mother, basically. And what I noticed about this feminine energy, which I look at it as the island of Kauai, I look at it as the Earth, Gaia, and whatever, the universal Mother Universe, whatever.
Mhm.
But I've never seen it like this, where it's much more than the nurturing, loving, unconditionally soft aspects of the feminine energy. It is a powerful, incredible, you know, monstrous, huge, infinite power. And I'm talking about, let's get the work done.
Yeah.
No BS, like the Kali goddess energy.
Yeah.
Like I'm
And
gonna
you
come in
bring.
and
Yeah.
pull your shadows out because I love you so freaking much.
Yeah.
Gonna come in here, and maybe that's why some people come to Kauai or other places and they can't stay.
Yeah. And
Because
but
they didn't. Yeah.
you bring it into this three piece of the human and the soul and the galactic level, and this is within our comprehension, because I'm also going into where you had your question, what is beyond God, who created God and whatever, I'm always going away into my dream state, my visionaries, my writings, and they go about, who are we to think that the higher we go there's only more light? What if there's something beyond light, and what if there's what's beyond there? It should be infinite by default. I don't think there has been any beginning anywhere. There's just, it has always been, and it's kind of a. And that's how I come to how did this universe come into creation?
Yeah.
We call it breathing, and then breathing means we are one body. It's breathing in and breathing out. That's beautiful. But what if it's not true? What if it's just coming out of something which is another universe? And I come to that black hole, white hole. I say, what if we just come out of a white hole, which is infinite, and it's on the other side a black hole, which is infinite, and it's just consuming a compute universe, and it's creating a universe, and that's just going on forever. And so, who are we to think? And that's where you go into. You limit yourself to what can you comprehend and what can you do, what can you contribute, and there we have this
Yeah.
fantastic three levels.
Yeah.
You can put that level on yourself. You can put it on a planet. We can put it on the moon, and then we go back to the
Yeah.
moon.
That falls in line with what Lisa was talking about yesterday when we were visiting. And I love what you say too, because how do we know? I mean,
Yeah,
one man's hell is another man's heaven. Okay.
true,
You know what I
true.
mean? So
Yes.
we can never forget that. So to me, it's like stay in the middle, call in all these aspects, move into the middle. And the other thing she was saying yesterday, as she was talking about her own journey of ascension, physical ascension, that she talks about and works so diligently at, she was talking about how when you get to a certain point and you're basically becoming, and hopefully we'll talk about this on Thursday with her, God consciousness, creator consciousness, that
Mm.
it's all about serving. It's all about creating slash serving slash, you know, uh, manifesting, materializing, whatever you want to call it. That's it. That's the free energy of the universe. That's that present moment, being present in the present eternal moment, and going with that. That's that spiritual inertia that just moves, and nothing stops it. The difference now is, though, as we expose the lies, or let's just put it, as we expose the possibilities of a dark Vatican or a 9/11 or whatever it is, we remove the fear or the distance of saying, oh, that doesn't exist. We take it all with us and say, okay, so what the hell? So what if it exists? It's not in my universe, and I'm just going to keep going. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what I'm getting at. It's like being being. The kid that I interviewed the other day, Dane Jones, the one that lives on the beach. I said, "What's up, man?" He says, "The isness of being." You know, just I'm like, what's happened since 11/11? He said, dude, I'm going into new realities. And he's dead serious, and he's all frequency, like so many of these young people. We're all in
Yeah.
our heads
Yeah.
because of all we've been through.
Certainly
Yeah.
in the West. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Very,
sure.
very dense over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, man. So I don't know. So then you get to back to, do we need to discuss Men in Black? Do we need to discuss an
Mm,
artificial moon? Do
I
we
do.
need to discuss 9/11? I mean,
There's no.
I I do think we need to discuss. This is just my opinion. I want to hear what you got to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
but I think we need to discuss anything that comes in from the main line, from the universal. Like I got some transmissions about a month ago in New Jersey, and they were showing me the real history of the world, what really happened, you know, what's going on. And they said, you need to get on there and you need to do a live and you need to talk about this, not to convince people, but just to put it out there because it's going to activate or open code within people when they just hear the words because they know it's true. So
Yeah.
that's what we need to discuss. And even if that's in our personal journey, what's happened to you last night or a week ago or what you went through, because in that personal journey, there is universal parallels for everybody.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Now the thought. I'm agreed. You came with the agenda talking about the Moon Man in Black and mooji and whatever. I'm okay to do it or to not do it. It's just if I had my thoughts about the moon and I said, that object that's got a soul, and not just a little one. It's a huge presence, and it's here for 4 billion years. And that's not I who found it out. They can prove that it is here for 4 billion years, and it's pretty much been managing our tides. So it's part of another entity, which is the planet Earth and the moon together. And they are kind of a unity. Without the moon, there wouldn't be life. We wouldn't be talking to each other right now. So this is always what I hang on. Like, okay, you can go with me to the moon and you can tell me there are bases on the moon. I'm fine. We've seen pictures. I'm fine. And then you say it's artificial. I say, no, I don't agree. And when you say there are things going on down there, I said, yeah, I believe so. And when you say we are there, I said, yeah, there is a lot of talk about a secret space program, and then we are having bases. And other people say there are reptilians and they are controlling us and monitoring. I say, hey, are both there? Are we there with our bases and are others there? Or is there only one truth? And I don't even mind what's the truth. I think something is going on there. And I think it's a pretty good place to do things that we're not supposed to know. But I, I draw a line in my personal acceptance. I draw a line. I said, it's not proven to me that it is an artificial thing which is completely hollow and completely made from metals and titanium and whatever. It's here and it's just as old as the planet, and it's a pretty beautiful thing. So yeah, that's my contribution to this moon. And there was this, yeah, it's beautiful if people have channeled messages, and channeled messages say, yeah, we are the Andromedans, and we are the Andromedans, and we are going to remove the moon. And that's basically what I said. This is going across my line, and I'm not.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, and who am I? But I'm giving my voice. I say, we're not going to remove the moon. Then I'm going to ask the Andromedans to go back to their own place. And I'm personally going to shut down the gateway for a while, because it's not what we are asking anyone else in space to do for us to remove our moon. And this is basically my thing. I think it's good I play that role.
yeah, yeah. And I go back to last summer. I was on a mountain in Utah, and there was I don't know if it was a solstice or eclipse, but it was a full moon. And I walked out onto the deck and I looked at the moon, and I always have had an affinity for the moon, for the sun, for other things, right? But in that moment, I looked at the moon and I said, "I love and respect you, but you do not have dominion over me. Nothing
Hmm.
does." And I don't even know why I said it. I think maybe it was something that was in the air that the collective was starting to feel. And I think I'm going to go into a question by TL Guadalupe that
Yeah.
that this leads to, and what you said leads to. So she says, "Can you guys chat on what creation looks like now as we all traverse this thing into higher and higher frequencies?" And that I think is the gold. The gold is what's happening in your life. I mean, I remember a few weeks ago you were out on your ass, homeless, and then 3 days later you're building a pyramid or something with some dude doing music, and you know what I mean.
Yes,
What does creation look like? What is that?
it's that. It's that. You're perfect. Yeah, homeless. That means, hey, um, I can do anything now. I need three things. One, manifest money. Two, find a new place and a new destiny. I got it in 2 days. It came, money came, new destiny came, and I was on my way. And I spent a few months on the mountains, on the hills of the Etna, and I had a wonderful time. Made a lot of friends, and this is how it goes. You manifest it right away.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
How
true.
does
That's
how
true.
does how does creation work? Yeah, it's my contribution, and yeah,
Yeah.
if I have conversations now with people on Sicily, and they just honestly tell me the whole town is still talking about you, and it's not because I'm pumping myself up, it's just because my presence has been there, and not by putting myself in the spotlights there, but just
Yeah.
being there with a big smile, and
Yeah.
yeah, what I was setting up some kind of few things were beautiful. We had that eclipse. I could go live from the Etna because in the United States they couldn't enjoy any eclipse. So I said, well, let's go live in Europe.
I
If you
remember
do
that.
such things, that's energy, and it's just
Yeah.
what I do, contribute, man.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen tomorrow? Maybe I'm going to send you a message again. Todd, I'm on the street again because I never know.
But you know what? Yeah, what does creation look like? And that's the thing. It to her point, it's different for everybody. You remind me of when I went to Sedona, and I went to Sedona, and I was doing okay, and then in the first 4 or 5 days, it was initiation. I realized that later, and so I end up in this hotel, and I've got enough money to pay for 1 week, and I got a little bit of food, so I thought, okay, that'll buy me a week, and I'll get to work.
Yeah.
And so I got up, I went down to the office to pay the week, and they took the money off my card, but it didn't show up at the hotel. They said it's being declined. So I called the card company, and they said no, they took the money. So I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do? So I scraped together enough cash. I had barely enough cash to buy one more night. I took care of that, and then I went for a walk. And I'm coming down this mountain, and I don't know, some things were happening. Bird went by, wind hit me in the face. I don't know. I was in communion, and I heard this. So I said, "What the hell's going on here?" You know, and I heard, "Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to let this affect you? Are you going to worry about whether that money's going to be cleared, and you're going to be able to stay in this hotel?" And I looked around, and I looked, well, you know what? I could go sleep over there behind that building. It's not going to kill me. I'm not going to let this screw my vibe up, basically, is what I
Yep.
said to myself. And for me to answer my, at least to provide partial an answer to TL's question, for me, the creation kicked in that moment when I let go of the
Yep.
fear and the concern and the worry and said, okay, you know what? I'm basically like this avatar in a video game. You know, I'm in a video game. I'm here. I'm a god experiencing all these different things. Ain't nothing going to hurt me. Ain't nothing going to kill me. All right. Because I am eternal. And once I let that go, then everything fell into place. And not just that day, but that week. And then it just kept going, and I ended up in Hawaii.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. I make a jump. You want to you want to go into this Men in Black, or are we just gonna skip that?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Again, anything we talk about, we've never talked about Men in Black on
No,
630 shows. All right. So
perfect.
anything that we talk about, it's not so much to me anyway, because I think this network is a frequency of truth. I was given the name Soulogy. I was told, I said, what does that mean? They said the other side of truth. I said, what does that mean? So then I started realizing, okay, well, wait a minute. Well, it's not remove the lie. It's remove the fear of the possibility of a Men in
Fear,
Black.
fear.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah,
We all know that the fear energy, the false programming, whatever you want to call it, the matrix, is all based on the illusion of something having dominance over you.
yeah.
And you know, I saw a video last night, an old video I was drawn to by Alex Collier, who did a shitload of work for 10 years, still
Hmm.
doing work. It talks, you know, with Andromedans, seeing reptilians, this and that. And he said, if you see a reptilian, this is the best thing you can do is run. Right? I'm not saying I believe him or anything like that. But what he did say, he said, but the best thing you can do if you can't do anything is stand in your power. Say, I am a sovereign being. I do not give you permission to invade my mind. We have that authority.
We
It's
do.
no different than getting pulled over by a cop and saying, I do not agree to being searched. I do not agree to showing my ID. Now, I can't tell you what's going to happen in the literal sense, but you are standing in your power, period.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and, and, and the only reason we don't do it is because we don't try it. So talk about Men in Black. I like to hear what you have to say.
Well, not much, because I was having a smile when you set up the agenda and said we're going to talk about the Men in Black. Yeah. So what comes along for me? You know, I don't live in the United States, so let's start there. So we're not seeing big black cars, that many here without a license, and they're not that easily big men, bold with black suits getting out of those cars. But of course, we have intelligence agencies here. We have people who have certain operations, certain jobs, certain missions, and yeah, it's just how you define it. Is it just a general thing? A kind of a type of man that is staring into the nowhere and having glasses or whatever, and you think that's really like Men in Black? Or are you going to the real thing? And I think originally it were extraterrestrials who were here, who were able to shapeshift into a kind of a human body, and they have a job to do, and they usually come to people who are on their way to bring out something about extraterrestrial presence that they don't appreciate, and they just come to tell you that you better shouldn't do that. That's the original Men in Black, but you know, then they made a movie, and nowadays just go into YouTube and do a search on Men in Black, and you get many hits. But it doesn't mean that they're all Men in Black. It's sometimes simply a private investigator in a car with the lights dimmed, who is just parking outside your house for 3 days. Is that a Man in Black? It's just a private investigator. So, yeah, I think if you go to the real narrow, pure being of a Man in Black, I can imagine we have some experiences here with you talk about Roswell, and that's just because that got into the press. But long before Roswell, there were other incidents, and on the other continents and in other countries like China and Russia, they also had their UFO crashes, and they don't want everybody to know, you know, and they certainly don't want everyone to know that there is kind of technology that we can reverse engineer, and we are not. And here you go into dark. If you just investigate how many treaties have been made with extraterrestrial organizations, treaties governments sign, and it's not only the United States, not the president of the United States, it's even happening without the president's awareness of the United States, and it is happening in Germany, and it's happening in Russia and China, and they sign treaties and they exchange certain things. Well, in the end, we see things flying through the sky, and we no longer know if it's built by humans or if it's our real from space. I don't know. But what does it mean? We're not going to talk and have a Zoology live show, Tim and Todd. You know, we can talk, and we are aware that we're not supposed to know everything, but we're still bringing this planet and all the life on this planet to a higher frequency. No matter how many Men in Black, no matter how many UFOs there are in Antarctica that we're not supposed to know, it's just fine.
I mean, look, two things. One is, what difference does it make if the men in black, like we're just using them as an example, the men in black and all they represent, who they work for, whatever, what's the difference between whether it's something that you or I literally experience
Mhm.
or don't? In both cases, it is a program. It is it is in its own way, whether there's a physical manifestation of it or not, trying to impose a certain frequency of belief into your brain, into your
Yes.
mind, into your
Yeah.
consciousness. I have a
Mm.
friend on here uh, that went through an experience that I know and was visited. Okay. Now they knocked on her door and were allowed in, asked questions. They showed up as a result of some communications that were private. They showed up very quickly. Uh, they identified themselves as being with a governmental department. Uh, my friend said at a certain point, "Get out." They came back. They called. They were not allowed back in. And that's another thing that we need to remember. This whole distortion here. Now we can go back and talk about Men in Black. We can talk about the secret space. We can talk about the proof. The Smithsonian holding giants bones from all around the world. I mean, the non-disclosure goes deep, 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 deep. We can talk about
Mhm.
Sumerians. We can talk about Lemuria,
Mm.
Atlantis, whatever.
Yeah.
But the whole point,
Well,
the whole point is like you said, it gets back to the same place, and it gets back to what TL said. We are creation. This whole realm, or whatever you want to call it, or experiment, or whatever, was set up on distortion at some point. And
yeah.
the distortion is that anything, ultimately, anything has power over it. So it doesn't, it doesn't really matter what is being withheld from us, because we're choosing our timeline. And on the pure timeline that we exist in, the true history of the earth, which is not just earth based, but galactic based, they don't exist.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
do not exist. They do not exist by the sheer power and force of our creation ability in the moment. We keep these things alive at some point, and yes, people have had experiences and in many different categories. UFOs, we all have had different experiences. We don't have all the answers, but what we do know is it always drives it back to ourselves. It
Yeah.
always comes back to us. Are we divinity? Are we not? And I'm a big believer that we don't even know that. So, but I
It's
will tell you
beautiful.
this,
Yeah.
if I have the belief and I run my program and I run my vessel, my mind, my whatever, by the belief that I am eternal, that just the sheer fact and energy of that belief, I think that's what creation is. I think creation was all sitting there and all of a sudden said, I am God, boom. And then all the little fractals said, I am God, boom. And then you have planets and worlds and universes and where we're really getting over here is having to talk about all this bullshit. And just say,
Yeah.
you know what? Who cares? Let's get it on. Let's get the party started. Let's create something. And that's where I think we're getting to now is focusing on ourselves. One of the last thing I'll say is this. You hear a lot of people say, oh, well, those people aren't awake. Oh, those people believe this. Oh, those people believe that. And I'd say to myself, who the fuck cares? If you're focused on those people, guess what you're not getting? And I've been guilty. If I have a problem with Timothy, because Timothy says this, guess what? There's something in me. It's in me. The gift is in me. The problem is in me. It's the same thing. And if I can find that thing and release it, into the
Yeah.
endless depths of it, then I'm
Yeah.
I'm going to grow and expand in my sovereignty, in my divinity, in my skills and abilities of supernatural.
Yeah. Well, Todd, you can go on. It's like you speak for me in a lot of things. So I'd like to respond to a few things here. I was just thinking, if you and I, the more truth we are speaking, the more we create a fake thought and a fake dignity, you are going to spread a lot of lies that sound more better as truths. So then people are start thinking that you and I are not speaking the truth. That's basically what's kind of part of the program is. And there is a, you can go back to anything where you say if there is a kind of a mind control psychological operation, it always starts because there seems to be a kind of a truth they want to pull us away from. And yeah, if you do a search like who is Ashtar, you go back to Ashtar, and in the origin of Ashtar in the 50s, this being had the intention to help this planet to not do the wrong things with the hydrogen bomb. And nowadays there is an Ashtar command, and there are multiple and dozens and dozens and dozens of people who are having channeled sessions with an Ashtar who is always speaking completely different things and is never aligned. So this is how you distort, how you create this confusion.
That's right.
And that's the same with why do we have a human-made calendar system which is not following the rhythms? Yeah, because we're some kind of control mechanism in our system is pretty happy if the mass is not aligned and is not following a certain rhythm. So why should we know things that they know? That's not what we're supposed to know. So just keep them out of order, keep them in disorder, give them the wrong food, give them an unbalanced body. Let's create a lot of, here we go, building a kind of network with nano satellites. I don't think they're bigger than what I'm showing here. Yeah, a kind of little thing, but they're going to put thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of those in a grid work around the planet, and that's going to be the 5th generation internet. You can hide in your house from a Wi-Fi router from the other side of the street, but you cannot hide from a network of nanosatellites. So that's where we're going. And do I want to wake up every day and saying there's something going completely wrong with this world because nobody is talking about the 5th generation of nanosatellites that they are putting out? Well, I don't think I'm happy with waking up, so I'm just aware. And if people want to talk about it, I can bring them to places, say, read this, look at that, follow that. But it's not what's driving my life. I'm still having my talks with Todd, and I'm still making my music, and I'm still traveling where I'm called and feeling called to go, and that's where I contribute with a lot of high frequency and a lot of love and helping this planet.
That's right. And yeah, I mean, it's all. There's only one of two faces. One is pure truth. Truth is love, is trust, is freedom, is sovereignty, spirit is soul, right? And the other one is non-truth. What is that? If you think about the extent of manipulation, distortion, control, illusion, deception, think about the extent that was laid out in just what we've been able to put together. We must be pretty fucking important. You know what I mean? We must be pretty powerful. All right. So, I think that's a great, it always takes us back to the same place. And that's what I see happening. Going back to your question too, is, what does creation look like? Creation to me is starting to look like liberation, emancipation, infinite energy, free energy, time travel, bilocation, teleportation. How are these timelines going to go away? How are the false timelines of borders, of lawless laws, control laws, regulations, passports, visas, how are they going to go away? Well, if we start teleporting, this whole thing changes. And this is what I think the big hump is. The big hump is everybody says, oh, well, the event's going to happen. We've seen so many people write about it. The event's going to happen and boom, so everything's going to change. No, we're doing this. And if we believe there's borders, and if we believe there's laws we got to follow, our taxes are even fucking relevant, if we believe that, then that's the shift that we're going to have. But if we believe that we're supernatural beings, that's where the creation is. The creation is we think it happens. And that's what you said earlier. And if I look at the last few weeks and I say, well, I was in New Jersey. I'm not going to Sedona. I'm just doing my thing, right? I was actually looking for a place in that area. Next thing I know, go to Sedona 3 times. Go to Sedona. I'm like, what? Go to Sedona. How am I going to get there? How am I going to get? Yeah, boom, boom, boom. There, this is creation. Creation is listening to ourselves, talking to ourselves instead of all these artificially implanted thoughts, regardless of where they come from. But what they did was they put it in our own head, so we're speaking to ourselves and made their job easy. You know, that's creation. Creation is something so mind blowing that no matter what we've been exposed to in videos or oral tradition or books or movies, we're fucking way beyond that.
Yeah.
We're transformers. We're talking about a universal correction, or at least a universal experience, all based on the individual's ability to engage and empower and activate and actualize that supernatural energy that we are. You know, I don't know. I didn't mean to start preaching.
No, it's just good. So we had one topic. You said mooji. I don't know how you came there. Maybe you came there because
because
mooji
it,
is.
it's because it started with an M. So I was like, okay,
Ah,
let's talk about the moon, Men in Black, and Muji. Let's talk about Muji.
mm, mm.
Let's talk about Muji. What are your thoughts on Muji?
Well, I love him.
Yeah.
You start talking about a man like Mooji, and right away many people can start commenting, you shouldn't follow gurus, and you're your own guru, and whatever. Yes, that's right. So I am not following any guru. I don't think you are following any guru. Yes, I am my own guru, and yes, I try to contribute my visions, my thoughts, my writings, and people that read it, people that enjoy it, they don't necessarily need to see me as a guru. We are just exchanging, we are contributing, and I think, a humble behavior like Muji, the things that always right away come up is like he says, "You're nothing. You're just nothing. You're nothing." That's one, and the other is laughter. It's just laughter, and that is be in the now. It's be in the now, and he is the type of guy that you can go to and just sit for a week with him without talking. And yeah, that's what he likes to do. Just be here. It's my energy field, and we're going to create a kind of a virtual or etherical or angelic or whatever dimensional temple together. And there are a lot of higher presences that's going to cooperate. It's what I have been doing in the years that I was on my world retreats with a spiritual teacher. I was never walking into orange clothes like the Bhagwan Osho followers. I was never off this planet. I was on the planet. I was doing my 9 to 5 job, but around it, I went on retreats, and that's being with an international group. We built an incredible, yeah, you cannot put it in words, incredible kind of energy field that's unforgettable. So I know what he's doing, and I think the more silent he becomes, and just laugh, just smile, and just that's
Yeah,
what
he's a
he's
yeah,
showing
he's
so
a
much respect.
yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, it's a good point. And without getting into different spiritual icons, let's just put it that
Mm-hmm.
way, or
Yeah.
personalities. I think you know, I've watched, some of his stuff over the years. The stuff that I found the most impactful, and I had no problem with anything he ever said. That's just my personal opinion.
Yes, I get it.
But the
Yeah.
most powerful thing, and I've seen 2 or 3 different episodes or parts of interviews or whatever, is when he's laughing.
Yeah.
There, that's the purest wisdom there is. I mean, and I do think that his energy speaks for itself. And on that note too, I think that any of us, it's almost like the more we say, the more we F it up, so it's really the energy, yeah, the words are needed. Words, maybe they're going away, but we don't need any words. And that's another thing about what's happening that maybe we need to talk about is that regardless of what we say to each other, we're we're at a higher level
Just
telepathically now.
totally.
and
Yeah.
and you
Oh,
and you
oh,
can say people aren't. You can say those people over there are asleep, they just don't get it. If you're saying that about somebody, that they just don't get it, there's something that you don't get,
yes.
that you think you do. So, and that's the whole trip with this universe. And then going back to Muji saying nothing, no thing, we don't know any. If we're nothing, we don't know anything. So it goes right back to the presence in the present and that's creation.
Perfect.
That's where creation starts, you know. But I
Perfect.
want to say the last thing on the mooji thing is that I agree obviously with that. Don't follow a yogi or a guru, but I also, in the paradoxical teaching of the universe to Todd Medina, the universe told me one day, because I said, "Oh, I don't like that person. No, that person's ego." Da, da, da. And then the universe says, "No, you don't follow a particular yogi or a guru, but every single one of those reflections, regardless of what you think in your finite human mind, is a yogi and a guru for you." Okay.
Beautiful.
You
Yeah.
just may not like what you're getting from it. And by the way, that's where the real gold is, not what you feel all fluffy about, but the ones that make you feel uncomfortable. Like, okay, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, but I think he's phenomenal, and I think him and Alma to
Hmm.
me are just, you don't have to say a word, just like you said, just be in their presence, and we can all do that. We
Exactly.
can all do that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the line that I can draw back to the 80s. In the 80s, I was doing my personal retreats, and yeah, that spiritual teacher had chosen in this lifetime to focus on the Western world. And with a big smile, he was saying, I keep changing topics. We're going into the Kabbalah, and then we're going into Sufism, and then we're going into alchemy, and then we're going into the tarot. It's not because I want to change all the time, but I've got to keep you busy because you're here and you're all having your mind here and you're all having questions, busy. So I just draw your attention by talking about things that's pretty interesting to your mind. But I could as well just be silent because that's why you're here. You're in my field. And that's true because the moment that this man goes into a meditation, and he's still alive, by the way, he goes into meditation, and there's a kind of a sun energy burning, but it's burning and it's penetrating, it's going deep into your body, and that's the difference. You think, hey, wait a minute. If you go outside to the sun is burning and it's only touching your skin. This energy is cosmic energy, and he is creating that field with us, and that energy is going straight into our bodies, and we can really feel something burning, and that's what he's building. And if he has manifested that, he can even walk out because the field is there. And that's the humbleness of a person who likes to do such things and feels called to do. It doesn't necessarily need to be a guru or whatever, but it's just their role.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think here's another one I wanted to ask you about. So let's take, and I'm not picking on anything or anyone. I'm just using this as an example.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think that it doesn't matter to me whether some people this, some people that. I believe that there is a higher. It's obvious over the last 2-3 years that there's a higher collective frequency, a higher telepathy, a higher expansion of these until now unknown powers or unacknowledged powers. Now, so if you take something like Reiki, okay, let's just take the
Yeah.
practice of Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
So as an example of evolution, I'm going to ask you a question on this. So we had a certain phase where everybody's getting certified and being trained and so on. And now it moves up another level. To me, everything is energy. So if I have a show with you, for instance, and you're a Reiki master, whether you're certified or not, and you understand that energy and you're connected to the morphic field of that energy, let's just say that, and you educate us in 30 minutes. I believe, and I want to know how you feel about this. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
agree with me, but I believe that there's something in the transmission of the energy coming from our throat chakras, from our heart, because we have the highest intentions. I'm going to educate you on what I know. I'm giving you these codes. And in some way, in some certain way, we actually pick up all of that energy and become that ourselves without having to go through the old 3D paradigm of getting certified and all that stuff. Now, I'm just using that as an example, but do
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying as
Sure.
far as
Totally.
how we're learning and expanding and it's actually becoming embodied in us?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I was 4, I was 5, young, with little kid, and had my first visions. And people around me, of course, bigger, and family and whatever, they had questions. They were talking about things they couldn't find answers, and I just gave the answer. And then they all were looking at me, this little boy, 4 or 5 years old. How do you know? And I just shook my shoulders like, I don't know. I just know. And that kept repeating. And of course, years later, you start talking about that. I somehow seem to be connected to source, and years later, you begin to evolve in a way that it obviously seems that I'm not here to put a lot of time in learning, because the moment I start about something, I already know a lot about it because I connect. And that goes to that Reiki. I know what Reiki is, and I value it because it puts a focus. Somebody who's going to invest in itself to get a Reiki certification and then brings that to the world to contribute to people's healing. Is it energetical? Is it physical? Is it emotional? It's beautiful. So who are we to say it's something that we have an opinion about? I just like that people do it. But I can say that I've got a kind of a natural way to heal. And I say it's a universal energy, and I can connect with anyone all over the world. And we're going to spend, of course, I love to do it in 11 minutes or 22 minutes because I use the power of that number. But when it's really necessary, I open myself to ask people to come in, to ask the universe to come in. And there's right away a bigger field at work. And I can step out and say, it wasn't me. But stay open because something is coming through. You already experienced it, and it's just going to come through. And it doesn't matter what I'm doing because it's even no longer me. And that's taking back my step. Like, it's not making myself so important that I've done a kind of a healing work. Now I just open something to bring in a universal energy, and that universal energy, you can call it Reiki, and then you put it on a certificate. But it doesn't mean that I say you shouldn't have a certificate. If that's how it brings you to focus, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
how I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, yeah. So like what you were talking about a couple days ago, I had this memory of when I was a kid. It was the same type of thing you're talking about.
Hmm.
It was like that knowing, the gnosis, the knowing, the gnosis, and I'm sure we all had it when we were kids. As we were
Yes.
less conditioned. So, but I also remembered about when I was in my probably my 30s, and one of my kids used to have growing pains really bad, and I would get up in the middle of the night and I would put my hands on him, and it would go away in a while. So I was reflecting on that, and now that we're talking about this, but regardless of whether I had training or you had training, or we did it as little kids and we just knew what to do, or we knew things, the whole thing is backed up by what we believe. You know,
Yeah.
so
True.
if I my kid was hurting, and I was feeling for him, and I love him, and whatever you want to call it, is it me, is it the universe, is it his belief in love for me, and vice versa, whatever the hell it is, it all goes back to the one anyway, right? But it is powered by my belief, and you stand there and I stand here, and our friends all stand where they stand. There are, we can talk about however we want to, but we control this. It's like having multiple, infinite, multiple centers of the universe. And
Mhm.
so this is, to me, this is our contribution. Our contribution to the collective is giving into that, in what I call faith, the transitive verb to trust and believe, is feeding that. We feed that belief, that knowing, whatever we want to call it, because the words won't do it justice. And that's how we expand this thing on a collective level.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, man, we covered
So,
some M's, we covered some non-M's like Reiki and whatever. Is anything you
so
feel to talk about?
well, yeah. So go back to, because I do think, let's go back to the planets, and part of your expertise.
Hmm.
Uh, so you know, obviously, there's no question, going back to recorded, whatever we can call recorded history, or hieroglyphs on the cave walls. Uh, there's no question that planetary alignment, celestial motion, the moon, the stars, all that stuff has a direct relation to our experience.
Yes.
The question is, and so there is relevance in that. It's founded in so many different things, birthdays, whatever it may be, the seasons, whatever. There's this order.
Yeah.
Now the question is that a program? Is that part of what we have to get past, that we are at the mercy of anything, be it a 26,000 year cycle or not? Or is awakening fully getting past the point where we even need to discuss it, because it doesn't matter anyway, because Mooji says no thing. Right?
Perfect. Yeah. Well, okay. I write blueprints. I call it blueprint because I think if you want to give a person an image, a print of its personality and its destiny and challenges, then if you only look at astrology, it's just a part. But if you bring astrology and numerology and tarot and Mayan aspects and those kind of things together, and when you look at it from the perspective I do from the real sky, I really look into the sky and I say, where is the sun right now? Where's the moon right now? And you go outside. As you're in the United States, it's evening now, and the sun is coming up, after the moon is coming up, and Mars. But look where it is, and you will see that it is not where the Western astrology is telling you where it is, because Western astrology is 23 degrees out of line. So that's, and I don't judge it, but I say if you are sensitive to energies, and I talk about space weather, what's coming from the sun and what's coming from galactic cosmic rays, what's coming from supernovas here, whatever. Then I also talk about what energies are affecting us when a certain planetary position or a moon or a sun is coming from a kind of direction with a star constellation, where for thousands and thousands of years they have written about a kind of pattern behavior, and you can put it in a long history, you can put it in a short history, you can put it in a moment, you can put it in a life. When I write about those blueprints that are in harmony, in my introduction, I already start about, can you outgrow this? And yes, you can. This is beautiful. I think the best thing I can share that piece, just put it here on. I think this is going to be put up, this video, and I can edit like, hey, this is a piece I promised. Can you outgrow things like astrology? Yes, you can. You can.
Yeah, totally. And and if you just look at the moon, okay, go back to the moon. But if you look at the moon throughout history, and I feel like we have to qualify that statement, because other than what's intuitive, infinite intelligence, higher self, whatever you want to call it, and even then, I still question, because what I'm saying is, when we say the history, this is the history we've been given. How the hell do we know? How deep does the rabbit hole go? Do you think it just stops at the third dimension?
It's just endless.
Yeah. It's like Mother Mary once told me, I had this whole congregation of divine essences, which were reflections of my higher self, just talking to me. Yeah. And she said to me, who do you trust on that side of the veil? And I said, me. She said, who do you trust on this side of the veil? And I said, me. And she said, which was me, right answer. So how do we know? I know I have gotten channeling. I don't want to call them channelings, but I know I've gotten messages that were not me. Now, I don't have that happen anymore, but in the early couple of years, I had to decipher which ones are bullshit and which ones are me. Okay. Or you know what I mean?
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
So anyway, so going back to that, the moon's a perfect example. So getting back to your point, the moon, the cycle of the moon has been there for what we've been given as history and even our own experiences. So if you just take something like that, have the respect, it'd be a smart thing. I did it. Have the respect that when the moon gets full, you might want to be a little more conscious of your behavior and your thoughts and your actions. But then, like to your point, after a while, you progress, and it becomes more of your frequency, your way of life, your beingness, where it doesn't matter what's going on because you've mastered your emotions
Yes.
slash spirit, mind, body, and all that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Yeah. I pick astrology again. Just comes up. Just for how many years I've been a Scorpio, because Western astrology was showing me a chart that you're a Scorpio, you're a first day Scorpio, 24th of October, and I thought, you know what, I went deep into astrology, but I said I do not completely recognize myself as a Scorpio. I'm not jealous or revengeous or whatever. I'm more like, let's bring in some peace and some balance and harmony. I'm more Libra. And then you look in your chart, you say, well, let's make the best of what I can. And at least I've got two planets in Libra. This is Mercury and Venus. So that's why I'm not that strong a Scorpio. But that was the best story I could make. And when you go into the real sky and you look what's really the position, where was the sun when I was born, and where was the moon, and where were the planets, then my sun is fucking full in Libra. I say, now I get it, and that's what brought me the inspiration. Say, if I never really felt Scorpio and now I know why, then I can maybe inspire other people as well by bringing that insight. It's about energies. And again, why I'm bringing it up again is like, I basically already was outgrowing what was trying to condition me. It was trying to tell me, you are a Scorpio, you are supposed to do this, supposed to do that, and it didn't even feel. So I was outgrowing it anyway. So
Yeah, but I think there is obviously there is a perfect order. The question
mhm.
is, well, the way I look at it, anyone that says they understand it all, I don't care if it's a ninth dimension. I mean, it's. I will say this one thing: I had my own personal experiences involved with what we might call the other side of the veil. I still see ego. I see some pure light. Don't get me wrong, yeah, but I still have seen instances, at least in disincarnated people. All right. Now,
Yes,
this guy Art Greenfield's put up quite a few good comments.
a art.
Let's. Okay, so let's both comment on this. Now, he says here is the universal truth. It's called the food chain. Life
Mm.
feeds on life. Our reptosapien cousins are above us in the food chain, uses as a food resource. They're the serpent race from the Bible. I'm working to change this through negotiation. So I want to address the first part and then the last sentence. Let me do the last sentence first. 1/3 of our life, we're in dream state. When we're in dream state, we are active in our multidimensional aspects. Art is working through negotiation either when he's conscious or unconscious or both. I know I personally do a lot of stuff and have been aware of it for several years. I'm very busy in dimension. I think we're also busy in dimension when we're conscious. It's just that this is the literal experience. So these exchanges that we have and these interactions that we have every day have implications across dimension. This is something that Lisa and I were talking about yesterday. So I want to just say that what we're experiencing here is a very, very minute part of our whole existence. Now, as far as the food chain thing goes, and all that, you know, my thing is this: I don't think anybody knows. It's no disrespect to you, Art. Everybody has to stand in their own truth. Nobody knows. And I certainly don't believe anything written in the Bible. Okay. Because there's been too many opportunities to massage the truth. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say the Nephilim didn't happen or the Anunnaki story, but how do I know that that's programming or not? We're
Oh,
back
here
to
you
the
go.
we're back
Yeah.
to the moon discussion. So
Yes.
what I will say is this: we have a very, I don't care how connected you are to infinite intelligence, we have very little information as we have very little conscious recall of 99% of our multidimensionality, but that's changing every day as we expand. That's why we're talking now. If you look at the story of that he's talking about, maybe there's a story behind it. Maybe that story is that the dinosaurs were the human beings of the reptilians, okay, lineage. And maybe the Pleiadians, the Syrians, a galactic federation landed on the earth and said, hey, to hell with you dinosaurs. We're going to wipe you out and we're taking over. Now, what's the difference between that and the indigenous and the Native Americans getting wiped out? Okay. So all I'm trying to say is there is no good guy, no bad guy. There is a true history. And maybe what we experienced in this realm, okay, maybe what it was a punch back when we punched somebody out. Maybe it was an infringement on us because we infringed on somebody else. So
Yeah.
I'm not knocking what he's saying. I'm not knocking the validity of what he's saying. What I am saying is this, as we've been discussing, going back to the moon thing, is what does it all matter? If you're moved to negotiate with the serpent race and bring peace, then more power to you. I do the same thing. Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so whatever our contribution is, I think it involves a lot more of the acknowledgement of our multidimensionality, what we're doing extracurricularly beyond the human level. I think in investing in each other and ourselves and respecting and loving. And back to your point earlier, Timothy, about the whole program of, is there evidence? Is it true they pit us against each other? Is it that? Yes, of course it is. But now we know. So
yeah. Oh no, but even there, this is beautiful. First, thank you, Art. I'm not seeing any comments right now, but I'm absolutely going to respond to comments that are inspiring and are asking for a response. Art, thank you for being here like that. And yeah, it's okay that there is religion, and I'm going deep into religion, looking at from many perspectives, and I'm one of those who says, the whole space fleet with Syrians and Pleiadians and Andromedans and whatever, that's just as much a religion at the moment that you start talking and tell people that everyone who believes in the Bible or in the Quran or in the Torah or whatever is a wrong person because he is believing the wrong religion. And you will see yourself one day, because they are going to land soon and they're going to save us. Then I think, you're just speaking from another religion, and I'm fine with that. If that makes you happy, that's okay. But be aware, you're just having just as much or less proof as anybody who believes in God and Jesus and Mary and Joseph and whatever, And the only difference is that they have book that's a couple of thousands years old and may have been rewritten a few times. And you don't have a book because they just showed up in the 80s when a kind of secret intelligence agency started doing neurowave transmissions and radio waves and said, hey, we can receive any brain in the world and we can pretend we are anybody, and we say we are Jesus or we are Mary or we are our star, and half of the spiritual community is believing it, and it's called a kind of galactic federation of light. And for me, that is proof of a religion, and with full respect. But it's not a different religion from a Bible religion or a Quran or whatever. And the Anunnaki is beautiful. You bought it an hour ago already. I thought I was going to say something. If you are able to jump into time, that's just easy peasy. Then how easy is it to go back in time and look at some kind of clay tablets and say, I'm going to put an extra clay tablet here. And that extra clay tablet is talking about that we came from the stars and we are the Anunnaki and we have been working on your DNA and we are your creators. That's beautiful. And now we find those tablets and we say, wow, so the Anunnaki created us. That's interesting. If you just look for another story, so why does many people have a kind of thing like the Lyrans that resonates with us? The Lyran people could be the origin of human species in the universe, or at least in this galaxy. It's just possible. I say, well, if it's are Lyran people, then it are not the Anunnaki. And the fun, the Lyrans are not talking about that they can prove that there is a tablet somewhere which proves that they have been here, and they don't need it because they resonate a certain energy where people resonate with. And I resonate more with Lyran story than I resonate with Anunnaki, or for me are kind of reptilian people who more like to eat us they like to play with us, So who are you in? What are you paying your attention to? It's not my attention anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And here, let's collapse a question with what you're saying. And let's see. She says, let me see here. Okay. Somebody said we will never know the whole truth.
No,
Well,
exactly.
what does it
Yeah.
matter? you know,
No, but it's true.
somebody said here, yeah, somebody said here, how do you know? Because I was talking about having received messages that I knew weren't me or my higher aspect.
Can I go there? I make a
Yeah,
cross.
yeah, you
I
go.
make a
You go.
cross. A cross is for me. I know my soul entity is pretty much taking the lead in my life. So I've become fully integrated with my higher self and my soul. And how does my soul speak to me and through me? It's called intuition and it's called inspiration.
Yeah.
This is my true source, and I can value many things, and it's always I'm able to value it against my soul. And my soul is, of course, strongly connected through the heart. And I connect from my heart to you, Todd. We have a heart connection. That's how it
Yes.
started right away. And a difference between having a heart connection to another heart connection or having a heart connection for your soul or from my heart to your heart and your soul, and then we have two souls who are doing a dance. That is this line for me. And there's another, that's this one. What's this one? That's a mind state. What's a mind state? That's here in the third eye. How do we talk in the third eye? Things come in and we call it neural waves. And we are pretty good if we can find the difference between a neural wave that's coming from a central intelligence agency who is telling you I'm a star, or it is a neural wave which is really coming from an entity called I'm from Andromeda or I am from Arcturus. It's okay, but it's pretty hard to find a difference. So it has to resonate as a message with what you feel. And then it's pretty beautiful that we all love feelings when they talk about we're doing the right things for you and we're going to take away this and we're going to influence that and we're going to block that, we're going to move that. And we say, well, they are so loving, they are helping us. But what if not everything is true? It's just possible that it's not all true. Because not everything is really coming where it's telling us that it's coming from.
That's right.
That's my,
And,
yeah.
and I think what you said is, which is what I would say too, is how do you know? Well, that's you. You know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just know. You know, the
Yeah.
gut, the intuition, and that type of thing. My personal opinion is that we've all been used. That we've all, because we were all under the illusion. We were all into a system where we gave away our power by signing this and signing that, and some of it was whatever. Okay. But my point is, I think the most important code that comes out of that we receive comes out of our own mouth, whether we're talking about someone else or ourselves. And then the
Mm-hmm.
second part is, I think their biggest vehicle for control and fear programming was what we say to each other. You know, like they got into us enough, and you got to remember, this isn't all just happening by them sending brainwave signals. It's happening by the metal they put in our bodies and all that stuff. We know all this stuff, and that's where I think the liberation comes, is in knowing, because we are freaking gods, man. So if we know somebody screwed us over, are we going to spend our time trying to kick their ass? Are we going to say, hey, that shit doesn't apply to me anymore, it's time to get this party on? And that's what I'd like to see more and more people talking about. I'm excited about the meeting we had today. It's
Yeah.
been 2 years trying to put this network out, and you know, we made a lot of progress today. I want to see Timothy having his own channel 24 hours a day. I want to see every single person having their own channel every single day. You know,
Wonderful.
this is the highest manifestation in the physical of the ethers. The internet was used to control us. They can talk about 5G, 10G. I don't give a shift, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because they are not more powerful than we are. I don't care how many
Wonderful.
satellites, I don't care what they come up with, I don't care what they haven't disclosed. We are supernatural, multidimensional beings having an incredible experience of an awakening. And I believe that if we can combine as many frequencies as possible into an ever-expanding vibration, I'll call it Soulogy Network, I believe that it unlocks code at warp speed, okay, that we can't even comprehend right now. So I hope that you're a big part of that. And
I mean,
I'm so happy too, because all respects, 620, 630 episodes with Be Live TV, but I'm really tired of the software letdowns. They've screwed up the last 3 or 4 shows. I got a show in less than an hour and they've already deleted that one. So I don't know what's going on, but we're going to make it. Yeah, we're going to make, well, I think it's their software has never been up to, I just learned how to get around it. And anyway, but the thing is, we're going to keep pushing this thing, and we're going to do it under the radar. We're going to do it like guerrilla warfare, where people can just tie in from wherever they're at and come on, and any time of the day, any of us can tune in to a channel and say, I want to listen to Timothy today. I want to listen to Lisa Transcendence Brown, Katie Indicrow, whatever it is, or I want to put my own stuff out there, because this is us. This is the 99.99%. There's no way in hell it's not universally possible. The truth, universal vibration, will not allow untruths, unfairness to stand. We are the 99.99%. We are no longer being controlled, and it's done simply by what we speak out of our mouth and what we share with each other, and the love that we invest in each other and in ourselves. So, thank you for letting me go, preacher.
This is, I mean, great, Todd.
Yeah,
you're in your drive. Yeah, and it's wonderful. I'm happy what you're telling, that you had a very good strategic meeting today, and they're going to follow a few. So, I mean, you're busy with it quite for a while, and you're coming to this climax where it's going to happen, right?
Yeah, it's today was I feel it, and actually I think we'll see evidence of that by Monday or Tuesday. It may not be the final thing, but I think by early part of the week we'll have our website up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos running at all times, and then we'll start working on the rest of it. So and on that note, I just want to tell everybody, first of all, thank you to everybody that watches this on the live or the replay. Thank you for your love and support and contributions, because that's how it's all grassroots. It's all the people. It's all based on gifting. We gift 30% of everything that comes into Soulogy, and we have been since May. And there's a certain beautiful 5D commerce frequency of an expanding frequency that evolves when we invest in our true natural nature, this universal truth that's coming to the surface. And then the other thing I was going to say is that, we beat ourselves up for too long. I realized that the most important thing we can do is get the hell out of our own way. So I'll use myself as an example, because the more stupid I find, the more wisdom I gain. So I'm sitting here, I'm my own worst enemy, going out here saying, hey, we're going to start this. It's going to be next week. It's going to be next week. It's going to be next week. And I beat myself up. So every time I got into that, man, you're always talking shift and, but when I started to respect the fact that of the intentions of my heart, then the magic started to explode. So don't be afraid to speak what you seek. Don't judge yourself on the linear timeline or the old fear-based conditioning. We are creators. We're gods and goddesses. That is not cliche. That's not bullshit. And the only thing holding us back is we need to get the hell out of our own way, So
Pips.
Thank you.
Really default. Well, thanks everybody. It's we're going to see how many people are going to watch it after this, because you're still not brought it up live anyway. So it's wonderful that there have been 63 people and even more have been watching it.
It is. I saw it pop up on my page earlier. Mm-hmm. I believe that we're putting a little bit of stress on Facebook, and I can tell you that just from things but so we're out there. It's just on some people's, like, it's not. It was pulled up on mine a while ago, and now it's gone. But it's there. It's there. Yeah. They're just having glitches, and that's okay. Right. It doesn't matter, because that's another thing too.
It's coming and it's going.
Yeah, anything that we do, whether it's on camera, by ourselves in the room with the universe, whatever it is, it's felt throughout this holy divine matrix that
Exactly,
we've
and it
all
always
been.
goes where it's supposed to go, and we're
That's right.
again
Yeah.
aligned. Yeah.
All right, brother.
Wonderful.
We'll
Yes.
get together again soon. I'll keep you
Yes.
posted.
Don't
And,
forget, I made some music for today, so we're gonna use it some other day.
Well, let me hear it, man.
No, we gotta stop, But,
All right. All right.
but it's in.
All right.
I sent it. It's an MP3, so you can listen. You can use it for your because
Is
it was
it
like, hey,
it's an MP3. Is it a instrumental?
yeah,
What is
it's instrumental, so we could do some.
Okay. Yeah, that's a big thing too with this network. Even though we're not going to abide by the lawless laws and rules and copyrights and trademarks, we've been getting popped a lot. So we need to probably transition to all original music. So yeah, I'll take a look at it. All right, man.
Yeah.
See you later, brother. Take care.
Love you, man. And say hi to Hawaii and give Lisa a big hug from me when you see her. I love her.
I will. We'll be on Thursday. We'll be announcing that today. Take care, man.
Ciao.
Thank you, everybody.
Ciao, everybody. Thank you.